Word, your host of the program Feminine Capital Rhythm. Now I'm in Holland. What's the name of this town?
Naarden.
Naarden. And I am here. I mean, my heart doesn't fit in my chest. It's beating high and wide because I'm with my dear friend Tilke. We didn't see each other for like 7 or 8 years. She's one of my models in life. Whatever I can say about Tilke is short. We will be talking about it. And breathworker, pioneer of breathwork in the world, trainer of the integrative breathwork. And I met Tilke in 1999 in the IBF, International Breathwork Foundation. And I'm so thankful today for Marina Nina, who gave me the opportunity to have this program in W.O.R.K.S World Radio program, and give me the opportunity to share with you what does it mean for me to be with Tilke today after so many years. Hello, Tilke.
Hi, Viola. I'm happy that you called me and made an appointment so that we could meet up again, which is so good.
Yes, I was in Amsterdam for the She Entrepreneur, Latino Entrepreneur, and I couldn't miss the opportunity to come. And thanks to Els, who drive me here, but we'll talk with Els a little bit later. So Tilke, which year, can you please tell us your full name?
My name is Tilke Platteel-Deur, and I live in Holland, and I am Dutch.
Aha, because you work a lot in...
I work a lot in Germany, and I work at home here in Holland as well.
Yes. So, and you started with the breathwork. You're one of the first who started, one of the pioneer.
I think that I'm one of the first people who worked with breathwork in the Netherlands.
Okay, which year was that?
I think it was 1978 or 1979.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. And in that year, I was asked to host Leonard Orr, who was coming to my next little town here to do a training.
Leonard Orr is the creator of rebirthing, conscious connected breathing. As you know, breathwork is a term, is wide, that there is many techniques that use the breathwork. And so Leonard have created one of those. And in that time, we used to call it rebirthing or conscious connected breathing.
Absolutely. And so he came, and I was part of the training, and I was completely flabbergasted by what I learned. But actually, my first session was the most extreme experience for me, because I was in pain practically the whole session. And in the middle of that same session, I heard a voice in my head that said, "This is going to be your next profession."
Oh my God.
And I had been a dancer before that and a dancing teacher. But doing the breath work, it was such a clear message that I got in that first session. I had to follow. It was like a calling. And I did all the trainings that I could get. And my first clients came like they fall out of clean air.
Wow. And you've been since then. And
I've been working with breathwork since then.
This is 78, you said? 77?
78.
78. And we are in 2016. So imagine how much experience and how many people have been blessed with the training and the session with Tilke. And later on, Tilke, you had so many training in your life. I remember you are also one of the first who make this combination between breathwork and NLP and other things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What happened was that in the end of 78, I met my colleague with whom I'm still working. And we decided that we wanted to set up a 3-year training program, but you can't set it up like in one go. And so we started to do a 3-month training, and then a 6-month one, and then a year one. And it grew from that very organically in 5 years till we had the 3-year program that we were aiming for. And in that time, I think it must have been like in 81, I remember my husband telling me that he was going to a lecture in Amsterdam, and I said, "Who is it with, and what is it about?" And he said, "I don't know. I just have written in my calendar it's going to be interesting." And it was a voice dialogue talk that Al Stone gave, and I was sitting in the first row, and I was just falling from one aha experience into the next, because everything he told was like an intellectual explanation for everything that I have been experiencing during the breathwork sessions. And so I couldn't do anything else but follow his training as well.
I still mention you and remember that session you gave me in Voice Dialogue in 1999, how important was for me when you were explaining that in that meeting we met in the IBF in Almeria. It was wonderful. And still in my heart, I still, can you explain a little bit for us what is the main subject about Voice Dialogue?
So let me see how to say that shortly and clearly. We all know about all those little voices that we sometimes can hear and listen to in our minds that are actually talking the whole day, like inside of us. And if you start to have these voices spoken to with a facilitator, you can begin to separate those voices that seem to be a part of you in your deepest self, but they are actually just a part of you. They are not you in your complete self. And so when I talk to you with your inner child, or with your inner mama, or with your inner businesswoman, those are all very different personalities inside of you. But the moment that you separate them out from your own, what you call your personality, you get clear about those energies inside yourself.
So for that, in a session, I remember you made me sit in different chair.
Yeah.
When you're talking about this voice, you will tell me sit in that other chair. Now sit in this other chair. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about those chairs?
Actually, you sit in your own chair in the beginning, and we speak about the issue that you would like to work on. And very often I would probably start to talk to your, what we call your protector controller, the one in your life that's always kind of watching over you, having made a script inside of you, how you should behave, how you about where we can find the voices.
Okay, so we were sorry for this cut. Is technology, and but here we are back with Tilke, and this is Viola Edward. So from Holland, and talking today from Holland. So we were talking about the voices of voice dialogue and how Tilke had made this breathwork, integrative breathwork training, where she included the voice dialogue technique and NLP and other technique in an integrative way to create this 3 years training, which is one of the most well-known and substantial, I would say, training in the world. Later on, we had to do some studies about which trainer were, what are the minimum requirements for training, and actually yours was already there about hours and years, and you didn't have to do changes because you already were there.
Yeah, we were
some
there.
other people in the world, we did have to kind of as much as breathwork were developing and much and more people wanted more training, it become like we did like it's kind of 400 to 600 hours training, isn't it? Yes. Okay, so tell us a little bit more then about your training. It has some hours in, you have residential. How is it nowadays? Do you have anything online? How is it?
We still are a residential training, and we have weekends, 3-day, 4-day, 5-day trainings, and in the summer we have a 7-day training, which is quite an intense and long one. We always do breathwork because the breathwork is really like a red thread through the whole program, because the breathwork does really connect your thinking with your feeling body. And the moment that in my feeling body something is blocking me to live my life really fully, and if you start to work with me and you have me breathe into what I'm thinking or telling you, the connection is made from what I'm thinking or talking about to how that feels inside of me. And when you guide my breath further on in a continuous circular rhythm, this circular rhythm has the tendency to bring up anything that's not really rounded up in my life. And so when there is some hidden material inside of me that is not finished on a sensed, on a
Yes, I understand. You know what happened with us with breathwork? I mean, I wish all of you now that you are listening to us, me and Tilke, we can invite you to a breathing session, because this is such a feeling, embodied feeling, and such a, as much as we can explain it, usually in a session we would say at this time, look, let's stop this and let's go to breathing, because it's whatever we talk about it is gonna stay short when we have the experience. So I really encourage you to look in who is the breath worker nearer to your city, wherever you are. Go to IBF.org, I think, is International Breathwork Foundation. And there is a directory there for breathwork and all breathworker all over the world. I am today who I am as a result of breathwork. I am also as a result of psychotherapy, but this psychotherapy combined with breathwork, it's what make me be who I am, because it go to every corner of our holistic being, isn't it? And
absolutely, because it makes you feel what you normally would only talk about, but talking about it is kind of talking over the hill of the subject. And when you do the breath work, you have to start to go inside and feel what's happening inside of you.
Yeah.
And so if there is any conflict inside of me and I sit down and I go with my breathing and I move with my breathing inside of my feeling body, I begin to sense the essence of what's troubling me. And most of the time, the essence of what's troubling me lies and way back in my life. But what the breathing also does, it digs so deep inside of you so that you become clear about the root of your problem. Mm-hmm. But what is much more important, you meet who you truly are.
Yeah.
Behind what has been troubling you.
Yeah.
You will meet the happy person inside of you. You will meet the clever and the intelligent person behind all that other stuff that is sometimes troubling in our life. And if you use this technique, it doesn't make you always happy, but it teaches you that you can go to a place inside of yourself where there is peace and inner peace. And there may still be storms, and there may still be sickness, and there may still be sadness, and sometimes even anger. But underneath these emotions that normally would have you trapped, now you can still tap into the peace underneath that is your original you.
Being. And you know, also remember, when we were kids, under 10, we didn't have enough strength in a holistic way to be able to deal with all the things that happened to us. Even when we had the most loving parents that loved us and protect us from many things, it could have happened in school, on the way to school, with some family member who told us something. So we have contained certain things that happened in our childhood. And then because we were so vulnerable and our energy so open, then in our teenage, we start creating all these first circle of defense mechanism, and then we become master of defense mechanism when we are in our 20, 30, 40, 50, like me now, 60, whatever. But those things that they were there, the first thing that hold our breath off, like we couldn't breathe into them, they are there. So what happens? Sometime in therapeutical process, we can understand them, and maybe we can learn the new behavior, but the body is holding that energy stuck there. So when we do the breathing session and what Tilke is talking about, not only we go what Tilke is explaining to us, that we go behind that and we have the encounter with the self, we also make that really truly cleansing in the body where that experience was held, isn't it? And then we clear the body from that experience. Because let me give you an example, because we don't have image today, just voice. Let's imagine that the way how I stand up is because I'm a sad person and I used to protect myself, and I have this way how when I always, like, let's imagine, put my shoulder deep together, so I kind of hide my chest and I become like this position of older people. Let's imagine that I understand and many things, but I still have this position. This position, every time I have it, unconsciously take me back to the moment where I did that position for first time. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I start breathing badly. And when I start breathing badly or not fully, maybe it can connect me with that sad moment when I create the first breathing that was cut. Mm-hmm. And then I get into that mood of being depressed or being angry. But actually today, nothing happened for that. It's my body position who took me to that. And when we go into the breathing and we heal it from all this corner, many of those things get healed. And I start in my normal life also to breathe fully. And when I catch myself in that position, I just open my shoulder and start breathing fully. And I don't go back to an old energy, an old feeling of being diminished or disempowered, isn't mm-hmm. it?
Nevertheless, actually, those very first breaths that we take in life, the moment that we are born and right afterwards, they sometimes are so full. There is so much impression. The impression of being born, the impression of the room that I'm born into, the impression of how my parents are relating together.
Yeah.
The impression of the temperature in the room, the impression of
sound.
What sound is there, but also the impressions of the hands that receive me. And so there is an overwhelming experience, and it is very often that you notice that when people start to do breath work, you encounter pretty quickly where their breath is held in their body. And it always, maybe 99.999% of the time, there is this connection to that very first moment of life, where our first impressions are being made, but they are not made on an intellectual level, they are made in a physical level. And therefore, it is so wonderful that the therapeutic breathwork is using a technique that brings you right back into your body, where you can feel, not remember the story necessarily, but feel what feeling was trapped inside, and then through breathing through it, like you said, you used the word cleanse, Viola, and it's also not only cleanse, but bring it back into its original
harmony,
streaming movement.
Yes,
yeah,
because breath is connected to life.
It's the connection to life, but
it's the last thing we do in life.
It's the connection to life, and it always also is the connection how we move through life, because it's a movement inside of us, and it's a circular movement inside of us. And so the moment that you begin to roll with your breath, it is as if you are jumping in a river and you are being carried on the stream, and the stream is carrying you home.
Yes, isn't that beautiful? Isn't this beautiful? We've been blessed by both of us working around the world with this technique. It's beyond a technique, but sometimes we have to call it something. So we say a technique is such an inspiration. I started much later. It was 1993 when I met Leonard Orr. I was starting in Venezuela with another trainer, and then also met Leonard Orr and have my thing with him, and it was fantastic. And since then on, nowadays, it's like it's gonna be so many years now, taking breathwork to the world. So Tilke, tell us a little bit about now. So what you're doing now?
I'm still working. I can't stop. And the working is enriching my life in unimaginable ways. It's making me rich in the connection with other people. It's making me very rich in the connection with myself. But also I can see that the work that I've been doing has spread in my family. And it has spread in the circle of my friends. And that makes my life so gorgeous and so worthwhile. And that doesn't mean that there isn't sadness or anything else, or what we used to call negative emotions. But actually, a negative emotion is just a new chance to encounter something inside of myself, get clear about it, and bring that energy back into its normal streaming movement. And then I can move on and enjoy what is there to be enjoyed.
Oh, so beautiful. Isn't that beautifully said? You see how it's gonna be my ageless teacher always. Tell me about your book.
There was a moment that my daughter, I have two children, and she's the eldest, and she was 19 or 20, and she met the man that she married afterwards, and she was in difficulties with she had still difficulties with her father, in her relationship with her father. That was a little disturbed, and I worked together with her to help her and support her to clear her relationship with her dad. And after that period, she decided to take our training, which she did for the 3 full years. And then for 25 years, she would come back every year for another 5-day or 7-day training.
A blessing to work with your own children.
A complete blessing. It's not done in psychotherapeutic work, but I did. And it was a blessing for both of us because it deepened our relationship. And then in those beginning days, she said to me, Tilke, you have the right. And I said, everything is already said in a certain way. And then a friend of mine, a colleague, Joy Mane, she kind of coaxed me into writing a first article, and it was written in English. And so then when I started to put my thoughts on paper, it became a book written in English, and it's called The Art of Integrative Therapy. And I've been working on it for about 5.5, 6 years, and I have enjoyed it so much because it was as if I was speaking to my old students and explaining to them how the work works, but also how it feels inside.
Mm-hmm.
And the comments that I often get about it is that I made it possible to have a felt sense about what the work is all about.
So when it finished?
When it finished, it was published.
And when it was published?
In
It's in English, yeah?
It's in English, and then it has been translated into German. It has been published in 2009, I believe.
Well, I think, Marina, hopefully we can have Tilke's book in that listing that we're going to be in. I will explain to you, and that's a beautiful book from a teacher, a trainer in the quality of Tilke. Look, I will be for another 5 hours here talking with Tilke, but I have to stop in some moment, and I'm very, very grateful that part of our time together, which is quite short, we can spend it and share it with you all. So thank you so much, Tilke, for giving us this time and sharing with this audience about your experience.
Thank you very much,
And
Viola.
for your beautiful smile. And I didn't see you for years, but my love is always there for you and bigger. And any message for women who are listening to you now?
If you have the courage to really dive inside yourself, do it. And the breath is so physical that there is hardly any way to hide from it. So if you find someone in your neighborhood that is doing this kind of work, and you feel the courage to really get to know you, take the chance and breathe.
This is for men and women and children and teenagers and everybody. So thank you very much for being with us. This is Viola Edward, your host of the Feminine Capital Rhythm program. Bye-bye for now.